Hello everybody and welcome to another Brother Crypt video. Today I wanted to put together a very quick guide and this guide is entitled "You Want to Get into Crypto and Here's an Updated Newbie Guide." The reason that I'm doing this is because a friend of mine, somebody at the gym that I go to, we've been talking recently, and one of the things I explained to him is that, I'm into cryptocurrency. And he said that he's always been interested or always heard cryptocurrency and never really paid it much attention, which is, what most people do. So some of last week, I spent a little bit of time with him, helping him get Coinbase on his phone, helping him to get set up. I also gave him a quick overview, of what I've been doing through the last few years about my cryptocurrency investments, how it's been performing, what the market's been like, and then I said, do you know what? It's hard being a newbie. It's probably easier in this day and age being a newbie in crypto than it probably was around about 2014. It was harder then to be a newbie into crypto than it is now. But nevertheless, if people are interested in cryptocurrency, if they want to acquire Bitcoin, then really it's down for people like me and you to help them, support them, show them how to get into the game, and really just help to make their entrance as painless as possible. So after my session at the gym today, I thought, what better way for me just to create a concise video tailored towards him, and hopefully this will be helpful to other people who are newbies who want to get into cryptocurrency but really don't know where to start. So I've broken this guide down into about 7, maybe 8 points, and then each point there's going to be a little explanation. So yeah, this is the purpose of this video. Today I've chosen this screensaver, this desktop background, because the markets are really in a good space. Today in London, it's the 29th of August. The time is 2:55, and let's have a quick look at the markets. So I've just gone to CoinMarketCap, and in CoinMarketCap, we can see that we have a market capitalization of $233 billion. This is really looking good. This is looking strong. I believe in the last video that was created probably about last week, we were around about the 200 and maybe 13 mark. So it looks like, at least 20 billion's gone into the market since the last video I created. Now on CoinMarketCap we have 1,901 cryptocurrencies listed, and we have a BTC dominance of 52.5%. Bitcoin price is Bitcoin price is at $7,105. That's really good. I think yesterday when I checked, the Bitcoin price was just under $7,000, and this looks good for now. I'm a little bit cautious because recently, we have had Bitcoin price rise up, but then for some reason it comes down. So it looks like this gain is consistently going in one direction. And obviously my assessment is just based over the last 3 or 4 days. When I last checked on Friday, the Bitcoin price was around 6,500. Now, in the space of 4 days, it's gone up by about $500-600. So that's really good. Now, to some of you guys who are here for the content of the video, one of the sources I recommend is CoinMarketCap, because this way you can keep track of the cryptocurrencies. If you click on the price or the coin, then you can see all of the markets, all of the exchanges where you can buy Bitcoin. So for example, here, somewhere here, we should see Coinbase. Let me just do a search for it, and we can see that Coinbase Pro is at number 19. So with the new guy who works at my gym, I've advised him to buy some Bitcoin from Coinbase. So we can see that Coinbase Pro is number 19th market. So basically, if anybody's interested in buying Bitcoin, what you can do is find your local currency. So for example, mine is GBP. I've entered GBP, but it hasn't returned anything, I don't believe. Maybe I need to, let me capitalize it. Great British pounds. Okay, yeah, so it's capitalized. So we can see that if I did have, GBP, I could buy from Coinsbank, I could buy from CoinRoom, I could buy from Coinbase Pro, and there are about 5 other options. Okay, so yes, CoinMarketCap is definitely a good source of interest. Now, before I get into this guide, please bear with my patience. I just wanted to say a few things that if you've come here, you're excited, you heard about the increase, you want to get into cryptocurrency, you want to buy Bitcoin. In my opinion, if you don't have a short-term or long-term perspective, I don't necessarily think this is for you. And the reason that I'm saying this is, I'm a Libra. Yes, Brother Crypt is a Libra, and I like to think that I analyze things quite well. And I also analyze my behavior, my performance in my professional and also in my personal life. So recently, one of the things that got me joy is that, as I've mentioned before, I also invest in property. And I've been investing in property since round about the same time I actually bought Bitcoin, probably actually longer. No, I've been investing in property since 2012. So about 6-7 years, maybe even 2011. So about 7 years definitely. And recently, I went to an auction and I brought a property at auction. And this property was around about 150,000 pounds. I bought it for at auction. However, after having it valued, the property now, on the initial valuation, came up with a minimum of 270,000. So basically, I bought the property in the latter part of July, towards the end of July, and then I had the valuation just a few weeks ago, if not last week, then the week before. Let's go with mid-August. So in the space of 2 weeks, I had made 120 grand. If you look at the buy price, which is 150,000, and how the property has been valued, which is 270,000. If you divide those, if you take away those two, subtract them, you're left with 120,000 pounds. So basically, I made 120,000 pounds in the space of 2 weeks. Now, this excited me. I'm happy to make this deal. I'd love to make more deals like this all day long, and probably with auctions here in London, in the UK, I will. However, the point I'm trying to make is that for me to make this deal, it's taken me about at least 7 years of having my property investment company, of me having experiences, of me purchasing multiple properties. This was my first auction property, but usually before, with the other properties that are buy to let, I've just bought them from agents. So now, with my experience, I'm able to go into other sort of areas which are related, which are slightly different tactics, and I'm able to prosper. I hope I've said that well. But basically, the point I want you to take home is just that successes are not really created overnight. For me to make this deal and this profit in the space of 2 weeks, there's been 7 years worth of preparation. Now, I bought multiple properties. At any given time, we have about 50 tenants. I've had to take people to court. I've had to, spend money on education. I learned how to invest in property by two other property millionaires, and I paid them. So for me to make this deal, I've paid my dues and I deserve it. And I guess what I'm saying is just that sometimes, especially with other YouTubers like you come across, you hear about their success, and some people have maybe made millions or in 10 months or in a year. Yes, that's possible, but for the majority of the population, that is not possible. It's not feasible. So what you need to do is you need to really be prepared to have a long-term perspective for you to succeed, and you need to be willing to learn. So that's really the point I wanted to make. Just that no success is overnight. So yes, I'm really glad that you're interested in cryptocurrency, but don't set high expectations. Don't just think that you're going to invest £1,000 or £10,000 and then you're going to make like 10 times 10 returns based on your investment, or times 20 returns in the space of 3 days. That's not realistic. So I hope you appreciate me keeping it real. I just really want to sort of manage your expectations and, leave with you the feeling that, you should be prepared to want to learn and be a scholar in this game. And not necessarily a scholar, but learn enough for you to get ahead, learn enough for you to get an edge, learn enough for you to be ahead of the forefront. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into my presentation. So this touches on my first point. My first point is, number one, look at investing in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency with a long-term view. In my opinion, you should have at least 1 year's or more expectation for you to want to invest in cryptocurrency. So if you start today, you should really just invest whatever you can afford to lose and say, do you know what, I'm going to treat this like a savings account or a business, and I'm going to put into it whatever I can afford to at the end of the month, and I'm going to do this for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or 10 years. That way, in my opinion, you're more likely to be better off in the long run, because what I see is lots of people, they get into this cryptocurrency. As soon as they get into it, their Bitcoin goes up like 10% in an hour, and then they're like, yeah, they're really happy. And then 2 hours later, their Bitcoin goes down, another 5%. And then their 10% gain has been cancelled now to 5% gain. And then tomorrow, the day afterwards, their purchase has gone down 20%. And then they're like, oh, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going to sell. Because if you're always looking at price, and if you're consistently looking at price, it will drive you crazy, So just be cool, be prepared, understand that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is volatile. And then the best way you can deal with it is to have a long-term perspective, so that all of the short-term price fluctuation is not going to affect you. But I hear on average, Bitcoin increases something like 6% a day or 0.6% a day consistently, based on the average, looking back at a period of years. So if we go back to CoinMarketCap, every day you're not going to see Bitcoin go up by 0.6%, but if you look at the average based over a period of years or days, Bitcoin does go up gradually. So you having a long-term perspective is necessary. The majority of my gains have been held from the Bitcoin that I purchased back in 2014, and that's where I've got the most of my gains. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And finally, on point one, if you plan to invest just for a few months or a few weeks, you are likely to get burned. So only invest what you can afford to lose, and don't invest money that you think you need to get back in a few weeks or a few months. And and don't be risky, and don't take out, a loan on your house or anything stupid like that, because you could risk your house. Nobody knows the price of Bitcoin, whether it's going to go up or not. So, don't risk what you already have. Just invest what you can afford to lose, and be structured with it, and look to do it over, the long term. So the next point I wanted to make is point number 2. Your success is determined by who and what you know. Yeah. So the reason I say this is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is new, and nobody in the whole entire scene of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency knows everything. That's impossible. You know, your success, in my opinion, is going to be determined on how much you know and what you know, and more importantly, taking action on what you know. That's important. Learning and just thinking, that you're a busybody and that you can repeat everything that's said to you. Yeah, fair enough. That's good. You're clever. But if you're not taking action, then you're not going to manifest anything. So your dedication to learning from good sources is very important. As I mentioned to you, having reviewed my purchases in the past, I found out, I've been making mistakes. I've been listening to, news. I've been hearing bullish signals. I've been hearing about particular cryptocurrencies. They've reached all-time highs, and then I've bought in high at the market. So therefore, usually when a cryptocurrency is at an all-time price high, it can only go down one way. And a lot of my purchases of other cryptos, which have been quite recent, I would say anywhere from the last sort of 36 months to maybe up until about 12 months ago, a lot of those were bought at highs. Okay, so what you need to do, what I do now, is I buy when the market is low. So a couple of weeks ago, after my property purchase, I sent some money to an exchange. One of the exchanges that I use is called, I think it's called Coins Bank. Anyway, their name escapes me. I sent some money to the exchange. I bought some Bitcoin. After buying the Bitcoin, I bought some other altcoins. I bought them at their, some of the lowest prices that they've ever been at for the last few years. And I'm up on my new purchases because the market's going up. When I bought in, the market capital was around 213 billion. As I showed to you earlier, it's now at around 233 billion. So all of that new volume coming into market has upped my coins. I'm happy with this, but it's just business as usual because I'm not really a trader. I'm buying for the long hold. So this is just money that I've invested, and I'm probably gonna sell in a few years' time or whenever I'm ready, but certainly I will be selling when I'm up, or I'm not going to be selling at all. Okay, so that's one of the things that I learned. Your success is determined by who and what you know, and through trial and error, I have taken away that when the market is bad, when it's bleeding and it's hemorrhaging, that's the time for me to buy. Yeah, I want to be selling at all-time highs. Okay, so one of the things that I'm doing is I'm kicking myself that I didn't sell or take any profits when Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were at an all-time high, when the Bitcoin price was 20k in December and the market capitalization was around 800 million. I wish I had sent more some cryptos to the exchanges, but I just saw it would keep going up and up and up and up, and it didn't, and then it crashed. Okay, so yeah, that point I mentioned that I've learned by observing the market over time and time and again over the last year, and I've taken that away, and then I've sort of embedded it on my mind now. But the point I'm trying to make to you is that, you should be dedicated to learning at your own pace and consistently. Reading a magazine, or watching a video, or reading a book, or checking out a blog. Those are all ways that you can learn, and there are different mediums. Also, networking and meeting other people who also invest in crypto is very important too, because by meeting other people, you're able to find out how they're doing, you're able to question them about their successes, and you're also able to create opportunities for yourself as well. So yes, this point is, your success is determined by who and what you know. And, you know, a few things I would say just on this point is just that what you should be doing is, well, not what you should be doing, but it's just a few suggestions that I put together. Um, some of the things that I put together are just little takeaway points for you. So if you've got time to read, here are some of the core reading I would say that you start with. And one of them is Satoshi's Whitepaper. So you might be thinking, what's Satoshi? Basically, when we have a Bitcoin, with a Bitcoin is represented like this. Yeah, you have about naught, you have one, and then it's indivisible by 8 decimal places. So each decimal place is called a Satoshi. So for example, this is zero point 0.1 Satoshi, 0.1 Satoshi, and then this is 0.0000001 Satoshis, or 10 Satoshis. Is that right? It's actually 100 Satoshis, because there should be one more zero. Yeah. So if I was going to put 1,000, this would also be a Satoshi. So basically, a Satoshi is the smallest unit of measurement for Bitcoin, right? And the name Satoshi comes from the name Satoshi Nakamoto. And basically, Satoshi Nakamoto is either an individual or a group who are responsible for creating and implementing Bitcoin. Why it's either known as a person or a group is that nobody knows the individual of Satoshi Nakamoto. There's actually a Bitcoin documentary on Netflix, and they talk about Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin and how it was been invented, and they suggest that it's somebody from California. Basically, if you ask me, my opinion is that I think Satoshi Nakamoto might actually be from the UK, in my opinion, or certainly from Europe. But I definitely think it's a stronger possibility that he's from the UK. That's a topic for a discussion another time. But if you were to download the Bitcoin white paper, this is what it looks like. You can just Google Satoshi's white paper, and then the first result is this document, and it's just a 9-page document which reads as a brief. And I think this is core reading. If you're not used to dealing with computing or computers, you might find it a little bit hard to understand, but it will expand your thinking, and it will tell you why Bitcoin was created and how. And it's a very good read. Now, one of the books that I recommend that you read if you've got the time is Anything by Andreas Antonopoulos. Andreas is, a Bitcoin evangelist. He's an advocate, and his opinion is very neutral. He's not trying to sell you anything. He's not trying to promote you anything. He's very knowledgeable, and he's very experienced. So in my opinion, he's one of the trusted voices in this space, who doesn't necessarily immediately seem to have any ulterior motives. Now, most importantly, his book called the Internet of Money is about the how and why of Bitcoin. So if you don't know anything about Bitcoin and you want some reading, I would recommend you start with the Internet of Money. I haven't read it, but I've heard great positive things about it. And I would very recommend that it's worth reading. Another book that I've heard of is one called Digital Gold: Bitcoin and the Inside Story of Misfits and Millionaires Trying to Reinvent Money. This is by, Nathaniel Popper, and I've heard good things about this book as well. So finally, another book that I recommend. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but this book was actually purchased for me by my wife many years ago, before I even got into Bitcoin. Um, Basically, me and my wife, we made vows to each other that we wanted to be financially independent. It's always been one of my goals, one of my targets, one of my focuses since my early 20s. I also wanted to work for myself. I wanted to do my thing. So I've really been trying to understand the laws and the mechanisms of money. This is why I paid for property education. This is why I loved Bitcoin when I came across it. And I used to work as a fintech developer for many financial institutions. One of them, one of my last clients, was the Nasdaq. So I've always had an interest, and I've always found myself working in banking and finance, but I didn't really understand money until having the goals that I wanted to work for myself. This book, called The Ascent of Money, gives you a financial history of money across the world. And when I read this, it opened up my eyes. And basically, one of the takeaways I got from this book is, wow, money's always changing. Basically, you had money represented as gold coins, then it was represented as barter. You had a lot of families, such as the Rothschilds, come into power because they played an interest in, some of the in facilitating powerful countries or powerful governments, especially those that went to war with each other. So because of some of the actions by some families that was done many generations ago, you have a lot of those generations of families which are basically now billionaires or trillionaires even. They own a lot of capital, they own a lot of companies, and they control massive amounts of land. So by reading The Ascent of Money, one of the takeaways that I got was, oh, money's actually malleable. It never used to always be government issued cash that we had. Basically people had gold. Basically people used to barter. And what this does is, when you understand the ascent of money, it reinforces and justifies, well, if money has been changing before, there's no reason why Bitcoin can't be a form of money. Anyway, let me not spend too much time in this. But yeah, I definitely recommend this book, and I have it in my cupboard. Now, moving on, this also relates to the point number 2. I'm talking about your success is determined by who and what you know. And, most of my news comes from, others on YouTube. And some of the people that I recommend where you can get updates about cryptocurrency news is this channel here, like Crypto's News by Omar Bam. I like this channel. It gives you lots of different diversity about what's going on with cryptocurrency related things. He doesn't talk about Bitcoin. He occasionally talks about some of the top altcoins as well. So yeah, if you want to catch up on news, I recommend this source, Crypto's News. Also, this might be a bit controversial, but I also recommend you can get a sort of non-mainstream view on cryptocurrency from the Kaiser Report. Kaiser Report has been very bullish on crypto, and he used to talk about Bitcoin before any of the other news channels. So I have respect for Max Kaiser. I think he's helped my knowledge, and he's been one of the reasons why I've got into Bitcoin as well. So definitely check out Max Kaiser if you're interested in, finding out about Bitcoin. Now, another person that I recommend, I think he's got a YouTube channel, is Simon Dixon. Simon Dixon is also a Bitcoin evangelist. And what I like about Simon Dixon is he comes from a sort of similar world to me. However, Simon Dixon worked as a trader for Goldman Sachs. And then he studied money at a sort of master's level, and he really wasn't pleased with the economic models that we have, like Keynesian economics and Austrian economics and all those different types of economics. He really wasn't happy with those models. And then when he came across Bitcoin, he was like, wow, it really sort of changed the landscape. So I recommend that you check out, his YouTube channel called Bank to the Future, and that's bank spelled without an A, BNK, Bank to the Future. And yeah, Simon Dixon also has his own cryptocurrency as well. And I managed to get some of the tokens for the Bank to the Future recently when it was on a sale, I think about 3 cents. So I'm really happy. It was about ICO price or less. But yeah, moving on. Another crypto person I recommend you check out is Ian Bellina. Now, this might not be for newbies because Ian Bellina sort of concentrates on ICOs. And if you are new, I wouldn't recommend that you get started on ICOs just yet. I think you need a solid foundation before you get into ICOs. That's my opinion, but do what you like. If you are interested in getting into ICOs, I would say that you check out Ian's videos. And then what I like about Ian's channels is that he actually travels around the world and meets different cryptocurrency projects who are starting their own ICOs, who are fundraising. And basically, if you don't know what an ICO is, it's called an initial coin offering. When any new cryptocurrency wants to start, they will hold a ICO, and then they will ask for people to send them Bitcoin or Ethereum. Ethereum is the second highest cryptocurrency. And then when people receive, these cryptocurrency, then they will issue their new tokens. So basically, you're going to be the first sort of person to buy some of these new tokens. However, there are dozens of ICOs starting each day, and ICOs are very risky. You potentially could lose your money. So if you told me, oh, I've got £1,000, what should I invest in? Should I invest in Bitcoin, or should I invest in this ICO? I would say that the probability that you are likely to lose your money is going to be almost 99 to 100% if you invest into an ICO. That's if you're starting out as a newbie, because you don't necessarily know what to look for. So right now, buying in Bitcoin is a safer bet than investing into ICOs. Some notable names as well, besides Ian Bellina, are Superman. Superman has a YouTube channel. He provides like daily content about ICOs. And also, if you want a humorous perspective on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, then also check out the Crypto Twins as well. Now, just wrapping this up, also some credible websites I think you can get information on are Crypto Coins News. That's ccn.com, and also, Cointelegraph. They provide reliable, consistent information. So those are two of my favorite websites for getting cryptocurrency news in a written format as well. One of the things I'd like to say is just in relation to point two, it's almost like a final summary, is, in crypto, you are responsible for your private keys. And basically your private keys are the ability to send and receive Bitcoin and or other cryptocurrencies. And in the first few months, in the first few years, never act on information you receive by the news, by a website. Bitcoin price can be easily manipulated by people's opinions, and there are large institutions that want to buy your Bitcoin for as cheap as possible. They will do this by paying and presenting negative news to you in the hope that you sell cheaply. And basically, this can be done via the news. We are in an era of fake news, and just know that, people pay for news to be displayed, which can impact any form of stock, any form of equities. But now in Bitcoin, because currently it's unregulated, this is rife. And in this year, I believe we've seen lots of manipulation. So just know this. For the first few months, you should be in an acquisition stage. So you should be buying when it's cheaper, when you can, but don't just sell because you come across negative news. Because if you sell for a loss, then you're going to be out of pocket. You should be buying with a viewpoint to increase, your Bitcoin by 100% or 1,000%. It's possible, because I've done it just by buying and holding for years. So it's definitely possible. Okay, now point number three. Point number three is think about how you will store your Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The reason that I mention this is because, it's because lazy, ignorant investors or traders keep their crypto on an exchange like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, or local Bitcoins. The problem is that if any of these exchanges go down, you've potentially lost your cryptocurrency. And the good thing that I like about cryptocurrency is because I have financial sovereign independence, meaning I don't need to go through a third party for me to, be able to send Bitcoin, for me to be able to receive it. I've got my Bitcoin and cryptocurrency on a hardware wallet, and that means that I have financial sovereignty that can't be taken away from me, especially if I hold it in a wallet that I control. So in terms of your wallet, you have, these 4 or 5 options. One is an exchange. However, if that exchange goes down or your account goes hacked, you potentially lose what you've purchased. 2 is you can either hold your cryptocurrency on a laptop, on a phone, or an Android, or a software wallet. So for example, Coinbase does two things in one. With Coinbase, you have an exchange. You can buy your cryptocurrency and you can leave it on their platform, or you can leave it in their wallet. However, there is a possibility that your account could get hacked or Coinbase could go. So although they provide you with an exchange and a wallet on your laptop or your phone, you are not necessarily in control. There's a third party between you and your Bitcoin. Now, the third option is also a hardware wallet like this. This is called the Trezor. And I've got 2 of these, and my wife has one, and I bought one recently at the beginning of the year for my sister. So I think the Trezor is the best way where you can hold it, because this way your cryptocurrency is not always on the internet. Like if you had a wallet on your phone or on your computer, it is always on the internet and it's susceptible to being hacked. With this Trezor, this hugely reduces the possibility that you can be hacked. In fact, I don't think anybody's been hacked with a Trezor. Okay, so this, in my opinion, is one of the safest ways for you to protect your cryptocurrency. If you want to buy a Trezor, I have a link below, so please use that to buy a Trezor, and it supports the channel and it helps me out as well. And finally, the fourth option is a paper wallet. I don't have a picture here, but you can basically have a paper wallet. And if you just Google Bitcoin paper wallet, you'll find instructions on how you can create a paper wallet. And that means that you don't need to buy anything. Okay, right. So that's the fourth option. Now, excuse me. So that's the third point. So now my next point is know when to buy and don't think about selling for a few years or until you've made mad gains. Okay, so that's the point I'm making. Know when to buy and don't think about selling for a few years or until you make mad gains. Right. So for you to get into cryptocurrency, as I mentioned before, I think you should have a long-term perspective of this. Now, if you're going to be dedicated and if you're going to be getting into cryptocurrency, one of the things that you should do is decide, well, how much can I afford to lose and how much do I wish to budget for the next year? Maybe I can, buy cryptocurrency when I get paid, and maybe every month I can spend, like $500 or maybe $1,000 on cryptocurrencies. And then if I can do that, as soon as I get paid, I'll move $1,000 or I'll send $1,000 to Coinbase, and then I'll buy crypto every month. To some people, $1,000 might be too much, so you can just spend whatever you can afford to buy, maybe $100. I think though you should be thinking about buying Bitcoin consistently, because what you'll do is you'll notice every time at different times of the month there are different prices, so you'll be getting your Bitcoin at different prices. And also what you should be doing is monitoring the market. So if you go back to websites like CoinMarketCap, and then if you bought say in January, actually if you bought say at the beginning of August and you spent $6,200, now it's going to be the 1st of September very soon, and the Bitcoin price has increased to $7,200. You can still buy, but you'll just be spending maybe 100 or 200 per month, or maybe 1,000. And then if you were to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in September compared to August, you'll be receiving less Bitcoin. But what that does is it gets you in the consistent nature of you buying Bitcoin. And then after a few months, it will give you awareness of market prices, and you'll feel more confident and you'll understand what's going on. So what I would say is to also, once you've allocated your monthly budget, you should be buying a little bit of that monthly budget each day. So let's say if you do say, I'm going to spend 1,000 on crypto, then maybe you can decide to buy that crypto amount over the course of 30 days. So what you could do is you could say, right, the price now of this cryptocurrency, of this Bitcoin, is worth $7,000. It could go up, it could go down. Instead of you buying $1,000 worth at a price of $7,000 per Bitcoin, what you could do is say, I'm going to buy $100 worth at different points, and then I'm going to set my orders, maybe some orders at 6,500, some orders at 6,200, some orders at 7,100, and then you can sort of work your way between 6,200 right up to 7,100. So that way your dollar cost averaging. So that means that if you're going down in price and the market goes down, you're protected. If the price goes up, then you're also protected because you have different orders at different prices. So sorry, this video is not about buying through dollar cost average, but I'm just explaining it to you. If anybody would like any more help or explanation, just send a question or leave a comment. If not, you can Google buy-in dollar cost average, and things will be explained to you explicitly. Okay. Now another point is that it's easier to think in dollars, because most English speaking sources on YouTube or magazines, CoinMarketCap, your Blockfolio app, they all use dollars. Now you can easily change things on your phone, change things on your app. You can easily change it to your native currency, but most of the English speaking um, sources that talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency will use dollars. So it's just easier to think in dollars, because now when it comes to Bitcoin prices, it's easier for me to think in dollars and for me to scale it against everything, rather than thinking and doing exchange rates in pounds. Okay. Um, and the final point about this is, I said, um, know when to buy and then only think about selling when you've made, mad gains or in a few years. So I'm looking to sell next time when the market exceeds $800 million as its market capital. So that will probably give us a Bitcoin price at around 20,000. So when we reach those prices, or when we're on the way to the prices, to me that will see us dwarf or get close to the previous all-time high, and around that time I'm going to be selling some of my cryptocurrencies. So my intention is that I want to sell when I make at least 4 times to 10 times my initial investment, or when we reach and when we surpassed $1 trillion market capital. Okay, so I'm just explaining when I'm looking to sell. You need to think and meditate about when you are looking to sell. And by selling, I'm not saying I'm going to sell all of my crypto, but what I'm saying is just that in my head, I'm so disciplined, I'm not selling for shit. If Bitcoin goes down to $1,000, which is very unlikely, but if it were to, I still wouldn't be selling. I'm only going to be selling at a high. Okay, so those are rules, laws that are embedded into my brain. So we're on point 5 now. And then the 5th point is, why do I like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and why will I invest into Bitcoin cryptocurrencies in it for life? Before I get into that point, on my previous point, which is entitled think about how and where, no, excuse me, my second point, in relation to my second point, your success is determined by who and what you know. Some of the points that I wanted to make is just that, if you don't know many people in cryptocurrency and you want to expand your network and who you know in this space, get along to a meetup. So if you just Google meetup in your area, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, there are so many meetups that you can join. Okay, so this one is called CoinScrum, and another one is called BitFriendly London as well. So I would say, you should get yourself over to these if you ever wanted to talk to Bitcoin, or you don't have anybody that you can have these discussions about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Now, fast forwarding, we are on point number 5. And point number 5, as I said before, is why do I like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and will invest in it for the rest of my life? Right. So the reasons that I'm about to share are some of my own reasons for what I like about this space. The simplest thing is for you to really study, you to do your own research, you to read those books, and then for you to think about the situation and then think, well, why do I like this asset, or why am I attracted to it? And then, find your own reasons for why you like crypto and why you like Bitcoin. But for me, I think my reasons are, I see the potential to make money, and I already have. So I've already made money in this scene because I bought Bitcoin in 2014 or maybe 2013. I paid about £300 per each Bitcoin. And then in that period, I was just buying when I can. I was contracting at the time. I was working for NASDAQ, and I was remunerated handsomely. So I was just buying, you know, a couple Bitcoin on a monthly basis. Basically, just described what I said to you, and then I was just putting it away. And then by the time of the year, I just amassed a small amount of Bitcoin holding. And now today, what has gone from a price of £300 per Bitcoin is now $7,000. So that $7,000 is probably somewhere between £5,000 and £6,000. So I've made a 20x just by holding Bitcoin for all of these years. I'm very happy about that. But I would have loved to have sold at the all-time high, as I said in December. So I'm waiting for the all-time high to maybe take profits. And I'm not going to be selling all of my position, but I'm just going to be selling enough for me to take some profit. So that's one of the reasons. I see the potential to make money, and I already have. Now, the second point on why I like Bitcoin and crypto and will invest in the rest of my life is that cryptocurrency is and will cause massive disruption to the way that we're doing things, and I want to be near the forefront of it. So, for example, one of the ICOs, one of the cryptocurrencies I've invested in, works in finance. It gives people who don't have bank accounts in poor countries like Nigeria or Sierra Leone the ability for them to be part of a banking network just by using their mobile phones. So basically, this company is called BAB, and their slogan is to bank the unbanked. Now, how I see this is I am putting my money in a company that is going to disrupt banking as we know it. Why it will disrupt banking is lots of people in poor countries who don't earn very much money, they don't have bank accounts, and banks don't want to give them bank accounts because the banks are like, these people are too poor. They're not going to provide enough money where we can use their money for us to trade, so therefore we're not going to bank them. Now, if this company is successful or other companies are successful, there's going to be less banks beyond 2020. So therefore, I'm excited about this, and I'm investing into it. And how I look at it is, I'm an early angel investor in young companies that could change the world. And I look at it like I'm investing into the next Facebook, Google, or Apple. So by me buying Bitcoin, no, I'm not investing. But by me getting into ICOs, yes, I'm investing into young early companies that could potentially disrupt and change the world. Now, for Bitcoin, I think it could eventually become a world reserve currency. It could replace the dollar, because for me, if I compare Bitcoin against a pound or the dollar, I love the stability in it, but I don't trust it. Just if we look at pounds alone, the pound has sort of lost at least a third of its value since the announcement of Brexit, and that's just about 18 months ago. So if I'm going to another country, things are becoming more expensive for me. Now, if I received my wages and everything in Bitcoin, I would still be up, you know. So yes, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, and I think it has the ability to become a world currency. And also about Bitcoin, I think that we're at a stage where institutional investors, just like this Lloyd's article, they are getting into cryptocurrency, and then they are buying and holding and storing cryptocurrency, and they are creating an infrastructure for cryptocurrency. So, for example, Lloyd's of London is an insurance company, and what they're doing is saying they will provide insurance for stolen cryptocurrency, and that's amazing. So, big known companies in the City of London are putting together custodial services revolving around Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency. Goldman Sachs, for example, they are going to add a cryptocurrency trading desk before the end of the year. They have already bought a company called Circle, or they have a partnership with Circle, and Circle has bought Poloniex, which is one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges. So indirectly, Goldman Sachs already have a preferred exchange, and when cryptocurrency gets traded by banks and institutions, the price of the asset will soar. It might soar so much that some people, they're not even going to have enough money for them to buy it again. And I think Coinbase, yes, Coinbase, basically they've added a suite of institutional products, and they're saying they've created a Coinbase similar to the Coinbase that you might have on your app or that you access through the website. There's now a Coinbase institution, and basically this targets any institutions that wish to invest $10 million or more into crypto. This was newly released, and you have a lot of institutions, hedge funds now getting into crypto as well. Now, also, what I'm hearing is now the South African Reserve Bank, which is a central bank, are now buying cryptocurrency, and they are just holding this on their books as an asset as well. So that's amazing. Central banks, they're buying up cryptos. And then we have companies like Barclays as well. They're filing patents. They're looking to get into crypto. I'm hearing Nasdaq, they're looking to get into crypto. And Goldman Sachs, they've been all over crypto for the last year or two. So we're definitely in a state where it's not just retailers like myself or people who know about computers. We're seeing big institutions who are going to get into it. And why they're getting into it is because they are going to get people that have accounts with them, that have money with them. They're going to be targeting and selling those cryptos to those people, and then probably making a fraction or a few percent off each transaction. And then they're going to be getting rich themselves. So basically, off the top of my head, those are some of the reasons that I'm really excited about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I think as it gets adopted by more and more people around the world, it's just going to benefit all of those people who were into crypto a lot earlier as well. And plus, I think cryptocurrency is great because, it has the ability to change your life. So, moving on, my next point is, keep track of all of your buy and sell activity on a spreadsheet. So when I started doing this, I was able to check exactly what day and what price I bought Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are, so that when I go back in the course of 6 months or a year, I'm able to track those purchases. And that was how I found out that, actually, I seem to be having a habit here of buying cryptocurrencies right when they are at their all-time highs. And then usually that goes down. So by putting together a spreadsheet and then analyzing my purchases, I was able to see this, and then I was able to correct it. And then this is why I've said to myself that I'll never be buying cryptocurrency at all-time highs again. I had to learn it and experience it the hard way. And now that I have, I'm not going to be doing it again. But I think if you were to have a spreadsheet, if you had a way of tracking all of your positions, your purchases, it will help you to know if you're selling at a loss or profit years or months down the line. Okay, so my next point and my final point is to use Blockfolio. So this is a screenshot of Blockfolio. Usually it will just be presented either as this or as that. So, excuse me. So what you have here on Blockfolio is, if you've bought Bitcoin on Coinbase, you have it in your account. What you should then do is enter the amount of Bitcoin that you have. So at any given time, you can see what the price is of the cryptocurrency that you've bought. And so you can, set up alarms. You can know when to sell, all that good stuff. And just because You know, you can use an app like Coinbase and it's not going to be connected to your wallet. It's just a visual representation of how much cryptocurrency you hold. And you can only know how much you hold by setting up, Blockfolio. It's updated automatically, but you need to input your coins, which exchange you bought it from, what dates, maybe how much you paid, and then you'll see if you're up or down on your purchases. So that's really it. Let me just retort on some of those 7 steps. Step number 1 is look at investing in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency with a long-term view. Step 2 is your success is determined by who and what you know. Step 3 is think about how you will store your Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Step 4 is know when to buy and don't think about selling for a few years or until you've made mad gains. Step 5 is are reasons that I reeled off to you why I like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and will invest in it for the rest of my life. And step 6 is keep track of all of your buys and sells on a spreadsheet. And the final step is use Blockfolio to track your crypto holdings. So guys, I hope you've liked this video. I hope that it is, of use to the person that it's intended for, as well as any others. If you think this video will help others who want to get into crypto but aren't too sure, please forward it to them, please share it. If you have any comments or questions, just leave it in the comment section and then I'll get back to you. So this is Brother Crip signing out. Take care. Peace.